Okay, hello everyone. So this is going to be a little bit of an introductory video describing a little bit about how to install the Pygame library that we'll be using as part of this series doing Python game programming. So first off, before then, you'll need to make sure you have Python installed, and specifically we prefer using Python 3 instead of Python 2 just because it's newer and has some features that I think are better. So this video won't show you how to install Python itself because, well, all of my computers have Python kind of installed already, and so it's a little bit annoying to try and uninstall it and reinstall. But it's fairly straightforward, particularly if you're on Windows or Mac, which you can go down here and download an installer and run it. Now, one thing that would be useful to do when running these installers is there might be an option for adding Python to your path, and that's something you'd want to do to make it easier to run Python on your system. So anyway, assuming you have Python installed, the next thing you'll want to do is install Pygame. Now, how to do that, you'll have to use the command prompt or terminal on whatever platform that you're using. I'm demonstrating on a Linux VM here because I already have Pygame installed on my main Windows machine. Anyway, so and one other thing, when you're installing Python, there might be an option to install this pip thing, which is a Python package manager. You're going to want to make sure to install that as well. Anyway, so Pygame, you can get it basically from pygame.org, or at least there are instructions here on how to do it. So the main way you could normally install it is by essentially typing pip install Pygame, or since we're using Python 3, you could do pip3 install Pygame. That's if you have an internet connection, and that would show you how to, and that would basically download the package from the internet and then install it. That's relatively straightforward, and if you run into any issues, there's some getting started documentation here, which gives you a little bit more information. So you might need to tweak your commands slightly by like adding this -- user flag or adding this -m option. But that's sort of the easier way to do it. So I'm going to show you how you could do an offline installation of Pygame. Now the caveat is that in order to actually do this, you'll have to have an internet connection to download the initial file. But once that's done, you could theoretically transfer it to another computer that doesn't have an internet connection and then do what I'm about to show you. So anyway, at python.org, there's this PyPy link at the top, which I'm just going to go here. And this is basically just an online index or repository that hosts a bunch of different Python packages that you can download and install. So I'm going to go to the Pygame, search for Pygame, and find that here. As you can see here, it sort of gives you those pip install Pygame instructions again. But if you want to do more of like an offline installation on another computer, you can go here and download your files. To download files, and you'll see that there are a ton of different download options here for all sorts of operating systems. You've got Mac OS X if you have an Apple computer, you have Linux here, and then you have Windows as well. So you'll need to look at the operating system to find the specific package download, and you'll also need to check your specific Python version here. So in order to check your Python version, you can sort of just start up Python, and you can add a -- version flag, which will print out the specific version, or you could run Python like that, and it will print out the version here as well. Anyway, so you see I have Python 3.5, and so I need to make sure to find 3.5 here. I'm on Linux, and so it's one of these two packages that I'll need to use. Now to decide between which one here, you'll need to know sort of the CPU architecture of the computer you're running on, or at least what version of Python you installed, whether it's a 32-bit or a 64-bit CPU in the computer. Most computers nowadays are probably 64-bit, and so you'd want to download the package that has like x86 and then 64 here on Linux, or AMD 64 on Windows. If you are on Windows and you want to double check your Python version, you could do the Python -- version thing I just did. But you can also run Python's idle shell here, and then it'll also print out whether it's 32-bit or not. And so even though this is a 64-bit machine, I have the 32-bit version of Python installed. And so if I were installing Pygame on that Windows machine, I would want to look for the Win32 as opposed to the Win AMD 64. Anyway, so the next thing I'm going to do is download the actual file that I mentioned. So this is the one I want. It's Python 3.5 on Linux for 64-bit CPU, and then I'm just going to save it to my computer. If I go to where it was downloaded, you can see it's in my downloads folder of my home directory, and so I'll need to go into the downloads folder there, and then from there I should be able to install Pygame, right, by doing a command like that. So we'll see if this works. Oops, hang on. So this is a case where, because of the way things are configured on this machine, I might need to do something slightly different. So I'm going to basically do this type of command here. Install Pygame. So that's just the file name that I typed there. So if I run that, oh, you see I got another error here. So this is another case where I'm going to have to add the -- user options. And so if that works, then it says I get successful installation. To verify that, I can run Python here. And so I've started up my Python sort of terminal, and then I can do import Pygame and see if it worked. And so if it prints out something like this, that generally means it worked. So that's a little bit of how to install Pygame with a little bit of troubleshooting sewn in case you run into issues with that. So hopefully that's helpful, and we'll get to actual programming in the next video.